like our guns, we like our flag, we care about grandma and grandpa downtown.
This is one of the safest places in Georgia.
This is amazing. This is a 20 acres. And
yes, sir.
Under 600,000.
Yes, it is a community. That's the good word here.
We're here in Senoia. This is the first day. We're kicking off the Leaving California tour, and I'm just super excited. We have Andrew Lowe here. He is the expert of this area. I got educated by my waiter at the pizza place there in Trilla, and he was trying to explain to me that a lot of people that are in the film industry actually move to this area. And this is the first time I've ever been here. So it kind of clicked last night for me, but I'm sure you can explain.
Sure.
Why are so many Californians moving here?
Well, one of the reasons with the movie business is that historically, even going back to Driving Miss Daisy was filmed here, and part of it in Senoia. Fried Green Tomatoes, that house that's famous in that show, is just a block from here.
I see.
And so there is actually a rich film history here in the South. And more recently, Senoia is known for the Walking Dead TV show.
I was living in the Bay Area. Andrew was in the Bay Area. We had a mutual friend, and he said, Terry, there's a good friend of mine who's an awesome realtor who has a business here in California, but guess what? He and his family have relocated to Senoia, Georgia. And I said, Senoia? Where the heck is that? I've heard of Georgia before, but never Senoia.
Yeah.
So we got together for lunch in Danville, California, and here we are almost 5 years later.
Yep.
Sitting in Senoia, Georgia.
This is really one of those idyllic spots where if you want somewhere that looks great, has high quality of life, has events and community involvement, I kind of think it's small town Americana is how I describe it. We have a much better quality of life here, I think, is the important thing. I lived in California from 2010 to basically 2020, and there was always that burden of the high cost of living, right?
Yes.
And it just seems to get worse and worse there. I was paying rent of, I think, $39.50 a month for a townhouse in
That's
California.
Crazy. Wow. What part of California?
That was in Northern California, the
Okay.
East Bay outside San Francisco.
Yeah. Okay.
So that plus your electric to cool the house in the summer, that could be $800 a month, right?
In a townhouse.
You got your car payments, you got your gas.
How about what about the gas prices?
Oh my goodness. So I'll never forget February 2020. The gas prices here was $1.21 a gallon. This rural, historic country, small town is only 40 minutes from Atlanta Airport.
Wow.
We're on the south side of Atlanta, so for the last 30 years, that north side has been built up with Alpharetta, Marietta, Milton, all of that, Johns Creek, it's all exploded. This south side has been sort of ignored largely until now, right? It is starting to grow this way, but we are 1 hour from downtown Atlanta, 40 minutes from Atlanta Airport, and a lot less traffic on this south side than there is in the north side of Atlanta. The people who live here, that have kids here, they feel super blessed to be able to enjoy this safe. This is one of the safest places in Georgia. I don't know if I locked my truck or not.
They priced people out of the market in California completely. So people that are in California, they can now come to markets like this and they can actually become a homeowner.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. It's very cool, and actually, from my point of view, it's essential for survival, right? We're talking about being able to own your own property. You get to obviously shelter and whatnot for your family, create a home where you know you don't have to move, but you're building that equity over time where when you get to retirement, you're going to have some funds to actually take care of yourself if you have to sell it or whatever. If you're renting your whole life, guess what? You reach that season of life when you're older. What have you got? What pot have you got to dig into to take care of yourself?
So the American dream is alive in the South, huh, Terry?
100%.
Amen.
We're out here with Andrew, and wow, this is amazing. This is a 20 acres. And
Yes, sir.
under 600,000, you
Yep,
can get 20
580.
acres, and you get an extra house too thrown in.
How big's the house?
House is over 2,400 square feet.
Okay.
Wow.
Doesn't work, but
I feel like we're in the middle of nowhere, but you just said we're only 4 minutes
We're
away.
4 minutes from the downtown Senoia. We have, of course, a lake here as well, which when you get 10, 20 plus acres, there's very often water on the properties down here. A lot of streams and creeks and bodies of water. What I've told people that come from California, they're like, oh, I want 50 acres. I'm like, okay, you know, that's really a great idea. Let's just think about the time you're going to spend maintaining that.
yeah, that's right.
A lot of the times they want it so they can plant their own crops and you know, have a whole homestead.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, how about you go something more manageable to start, build some great relationships with your neighbors that might have, you know, 20, 50, 100 acres. And if you still think you need the 50 acres, maybe buy it when you break yourself in on 10, you know what I mean?
Tell us a little bit more about your leaving and how you ended up finding this place. And
Well, my parents have been here 40 years, and my son was getting ready to leave California. My daughter's already out of California. So I told him, this is the time. We got to do it now, or we're never going to get out.
I said, growing up in California, brought 2 kids up, was born and raised there. Worked there for 30 years, most of my life, and then found it, I loved it, but it started waning. The quality of life issues, and, freedom, just congestion, overall things, the kind of things we all think about, crime, all those.
Sure.
As you go along, you don't really notice as much. And I'll tell you, once you get away from it, it really is obvious when you go back. But
Yes, it is a community. That's the good word here.
and this place on a Saturday is phenomenal. The marketplace is going. You had your wives here, kids here, family. Everybody here enjoys it. Just it's super.
Senoia we have found to be just a wonderful family community. We just love everything about it. There's things going on. If you wanted to, you could get out of your house and go somewhere and go to a community event almost every day of the week, every day of the year. There's just so much going on here. It's arts festivals, there's arts and, just gatherings like this on Saturday mornings. They call it a farmer's market. And there's a few vendors here and there's things to buy, but for the most part, it's just community. It's people showing up and having a mimosa and a Bloody Mary. And it's not about, it's not like a bar atmosphere. Nobody's getting drunk and crazy. People are just visiting and being Americans. I was in my early 20s having more fun than a human being should be allowed to have. And, somewhere around the mid 90s, things just started to take a horrible turn to the left. And, the way the motion picture industry was going, I very rarely worked in California. I was getting on a plane to go to work all the time. And I would come home to this kind of oppressive, regulatory, taxed, crime-ridden place. It's like, what are we doing here? We don't have to live here anymore.
Right, yeah.
If you have 100 people, which we've averaged about 100 people a year that comes in here, then you can mold, for the most part, those personalities into what we have here. You let 1,000 people, which would end up being approximately a little over 20%, a little under 20%, they have the ability to change the character and change the form of the city almost overnight. So we have to be very protective of that. And here, We like our guns. We like our flag. We care about grandma and grandpa downtown. We shake hands on the streets. We say hello in the mornings. You're not going to get that from DC, New York, or LA. It's just simply not going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's the people that I've known that here about 5 or 6 years, and they want to shut the door. They like what they see, but they say everybody else coming in behind them is a problem. Well, you know, they're in the subdivisions that have been created here over the last few years. So if they're going to be a problem after you, then you were a problem before that. And we don't see them as a problem. They define it themselves by their very argument.
Right.
And we're not going to sit here and fight one protracted battle of development over one protracted battle of development. We can make this work.